Time. It's one of the greatest commodities.
It's the Ira Tillman Show. 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 Who's that man? Ira Tillman Show. Who's that man? Ira Tillman Show. Do the best you can. Ira Tillman Show. It's the Ira Tillman Show. Ira Tillman Show.
Hi everyone, my name is Umoya, co-host of the Ira Tillman Show. I'm also here with the host, author, and social media influencer, the one and only Ira Tillman. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great, man. It's great to talk to you. I was lonely and I was bunkered in, so when you called, I said, "Heck, there's somebody, there's somebody here for me." I'm doing just like everybody else. We're trying to stay safe and trying to keep people around us safe by not contracting any undue activity that would put us in harm's way. But I'm doing great. Great day out here in the Carolinas.
Nice. All right, so today's topic is how would a heist go down in a pandemic? Now, before we start, let's just say a brief disclaimer. The following response is hypothetical, and in no means do we suggest or support in any way participating in stealing or looting, etc. All right, so we just want to put that out there. I don't know, Ira, if you want to elaborate on that a little bit more.
Well, this is a fun and a familiar topic that you brought up today. I am intrigued by how the conversation is going to come out too, because I haven't thought much on it until I drove across country from Los Angeles to Charlotte, North Carolina, and how would a heist be performed in the atmosphere of a pandemic would be something to think about. If I was still in that lifestyle, if I was still in that lifestyle that brought me so much notoriety and riches and put so many miles under my belt. I believe I have probably a narrow window to or narrow description to give you. The only way that I can see that such a thing could happen, a heist of any type of magnitude. And funny you brought this subject up. I just saw yesterday on ABC that crime across the nation is averaging 30% decline. So the crime is down 30% generally across the country. And the only thing that's up is commercial burglaries and nighttime heist. It's funny that this topic comes up at this time, because I just saw this report day before yesterday.
Okay. All right, so let's get into it. So the first question is, hypothetically speaking, in quotes, quote unquote, hypothetically speaking, how would a jewelry heist, in your opinion, look like in a pandemic?
Well, first of all, we're in a state of paralysis. There's nothing moving systematically as far as the everyday processes, the ebb and flows of society. So it looks a lot different than it did when I was out there and me and my crews were knocking off jewelry stores across the country. It's a totally different look and feel. But after driving 2 weeks ago from Los Angeles to Carolina, I realized that the proposition would be bleak as far as trying to eke out one of my old school moves, and but there is perhaps, and I feel one way that something of that magnitude could still go down in this pandemic atmosphere, and that is, first of all, you have to have the information, what it is that you're trying to do. Uh, a blind run wouldn't work in this atmosphere. A blind run, in the definition of my book, Super Thieves, is coming up upon something or a situation that you've never seen before, that you haven't had a chance to map out. When you just drive past something, you stop, and you've never seen anything, you decide that you want to go in this situation. That's called a blind move in our circle of activity. A blind move is generally something that you do when there's no other way to visualize what's going on the other side of these walls, that safe, or this store. When you're doing something totally without any vision, forethought, or any type of reconnaissance. That's called a blind move. So, and that's what we're faced with. There's no way you can see anything while something is open. In other words, while the store is open, you know exactly what it is that you're going after. You're going after $100,000, $500,000, $1 million. You don't know, and that's called a blind move. Sometimes it works out for you. Sometimes it doesn't. Generally, if you're going to do a blind, you have to have some type of history of the company or corporation that you're dealing with. A lot of corporations are mandated to prescribe to put things away and store things in a certain way. It's company-wide. It's a kind of a company-wide mandate, and every store, every situation that you go to, each location, each franchise does things the same way, company-wide. So you kind of like, just like when you walk into a Walmart, you can go in any Walmart and notice you look to the left, the groceries and and the clothing is to the left, and then the pharmaceuticals and the automotive is to. That's every Walmart you go to. They're built the same way. You can walk into any one and just find yourself around because you know where everything is, because each one is built the same exact way. Same thing with in diamond and jewelry stores. If there's Zales in Los Angeles, same as Zales in New York and Chicago and Richmond, Virginia, K Jewelers, same thing. Generally, if they leave X amount of material around or stored in a certain way, that's how it is everywhere you go. So going back to your question, can you conceivably do a jewelry heist in a pandemic situation like we're in? Yes, but you would have to have kind of a mental map of our knowledge and understanding of how companies are from franchise, corporation to corporation, store to store. And if you have that information, then yes, you could conceivably put a move together, a heist together, and not be in the blind, so to speak, as you go through the processes.
Okay.
Now, the other problem is this. I'm sorry to cut you off. The other problem is everything is closed down in society.
Oh, that was actually, I was going to lead to my next question, which is, do you think it would be easier to do a heist because of the lockdown, since everything is closed down?
Actually, it makes it harder. because part of your pathology when you're in that lifestyle is you're kind of dependent on the ebb and flows of society around you, and you orchestrate that into your move, into your heist. Whether you're planning a switch of a vehicle, when you do a heist, a lot of times you factor in the fact that somebody is watching you, and you use that. That's why you have a switch. You actually want somebody to misinterpret what it is that they're seeing. So if they see four guys depart a store and hop in a black sedan, well, that switch is probably going to be a red two-door, totally opposite of what you're leaving visually behind in the scene of a heist. You know, so it wouldn't make any sense to switch from a black four-door into another black four-door. You would never do that. So if your switch car is going to be visually kind of on the opposite spectrum, color-wise and description-wise, as the car you actually are seen getting into as you leave a heist. Now that if you're doing a nighttime, nighttime just means closed. It means that it's closed, but it doesn't mean that it's actually at night. If you're doing, it just means that the business is closed. If you're doing a closed heist, a closed business heist, which is a burglary, a commercial burglary, there's generally not a lot of witnesses around. You're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and it doesn't matter what it is that you depart in. But sometimes it does. But getting back to the pandemic situation, the streets are basically barren, and they're barren at night too, or in the early morning hours too. That doesn't actually factor into the difference between pandemic and non-pandemic activity. But what does is the streets are eerily quiet and eerily vacant and abandoned during this pandemic. And unless you know, and this goes back to the beginning of the topic, unless you know exactly where things are situated in the heist that you're trying to commit, and that takes forethought. That takes forethought and planning. If you haven't done that, then you're rolling dice, and you're putting yourself out there. And when you don't know where something is, it takes longer to put yourself in front of it. If you're just kind of feeling yourself, it's like putting a blindfold on and you're reaching around into a closet trying to figure out what pair of shoes you want to put on, and you don't know where the shoes are. Mm-hmm. But if you know your closet and you know where everything is, you can put that blindfold on and you can go straight to that pair of Bostonians or Timberlands or wherever it is. You can go exactly to it because you know exactly where it is.
All right.
That's how it is to know your heist subject. You know exactly where it is. You know how to get to it. You know what's protecting it, and generally it's an easier ploy that you're trying to do when you have that information and this visual, the sight of everything that you want in your head. You know exactly how to get to it. If let's say you're going into a Zales or Tiffany's or Kay's or what have you, you know the store, you know how to get to it. And if you have that in your mind already, you have so many of those in your repertoire, you know exactly what you're doing. Yeah, it makes it an easier ploy. But in this pandemic situation, let's say you never you come across a situation where, let's say, there's an empty mall, a shopping mall, and there's no way to go through there. There's no way to walk through there. You're just basically you would basically have to do something that's a blind move, and that's a tough proposition when you don't know where inside the shopping mall
Right.
you're going into. Yet something that you're just basically rolling the dice on. Now, what I have seen is that the pandemic has closed one thing off, but really has opened up something else, which is, okay, you've got no business being in and out of traffic in the evening hours, but you do have a lot of traffic in the daylight hours. And that kind of flipped the whole script on when to lay down a heist. The time to do it in a pandemic, just like it is right now, would be broad daylight, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, because there's nobody around.
Mm.
And not only that, but there is traffic, and it's not unusual to see traffic in the daylight hours, but just, none in the shopping areas and where the jewelry stores are. We're talking diamonds and gold.
All right.
That would be if I had somebody, twisted my arm behind my back and said, go out there and put a jewelry heist down, I would do it in the middle of the day.
Okay. All right.
You're
So.
kind of hiding in plain sight. And you want to hide in plain sight.
Okay.
And you wouldn't look at all out of the ordinary, tooling around in the middle of the day.
Right.
You would look very, very out of place, tooling around in the middle of the night or 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. It's a tough proposition. Probably and it should be. The pandemic should be assisting the city management as far as security goes, but the only way that I would see it being an easier proposition for me would be, I would just flip the script. No night, I would flip it into the middle of the day and try to hide within whatever segments of society are trying to move around and go through their normal processes of traffic during the daytime.
Okay. All right. So speaking of the pandemic, which the pandemic is what I'm calling the Rona, or what's been labeled as the Rona, aka COVID-19. What is your take on the current pandemic, aka the Rona, aka COVID-19?
You're trying to believe your fathers as far as the city governments go and the local and national government. You're trying to believe that they're telling you the absolute truth of the situation. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know that conspiracies happen anytime that you're omitting truth out of whatever narrative you're trying to spew to the people. It's kind of a conspiracy there, even when you're just not telling the entire truth about something. I think that the media is telling, I believe, what they know. I don't believe the media is involved in any type of cover-up or conspiracy, because they're just the nature, the sheer nature of what media is being the first to break something, to break whatever truth they have, whatever truth they can prove. I don't believe there's an orchestration there that that can subjugate the masses away from the truth. Now, uh, if there's some type of cure to this virus, I would believe that it would take time to find it, just like they're doing right now. You can't say you created something or you put something together to cure this thing without testing it and testing it over a period of time. You can't just test it over 2 weeks and say we found something. I don't believe that. I believe that it takes months. It may even take years to say we found a cure to something. You know, because it's not reacting or it reacts positively to, like I say, they have a few things that have reacted positively towards this virus, but they're not endorsing it. None of them as a possible cure. They're not right, and I believe that first of all, if you say you got a cure to something and you really don't, then you can wipe out double with the lives that we've lost already. We've lost over 50,000 lives or close to it. You know, this thing can go on for years if we do that. You know, we got to make sure we have a real cure to something. You know, we got to have that Louis Pasteur, you know, cure for, you know, like when we cured polio or when we cured chicken pox or whatever. We got to have a cure, a solid cure out there that says, hey, this is defeating this. I don't believe we can react too swiftly as far as trying to open society again. I don't know why these people are even taking a chance. Opening society means we don't need face masks anymore. If you're going to say we're going to open society, why are we still wearing face masks?
Right.
I don't get it. You know, either we got a cure or the pandemic is passed or it hasn't. And we're headed, I think, for a longer played out version of what we're doing right now. South Carolina is trying to open up. They opened up stores yesterday. They're using. It seems like they're using some, and it's known as the Republican states now. You're talking about Georgia and South Carolina. I don't know how that fell to them, but they're opening it up, and it seems like it's a test market.
Okay.
Seems like they're just going to dip their toe in the water, see if it's hot, and if nothing negative comes out of it, then one state after the other, watching what's going on in South Carolina and Georgia, then they'll try to declare it as being open. They're still arresting people. I'm watching television right now. They're still arresting people for being out and what have you, in parks and beaches. So it's a mixed message out there. The governors are sending mixed messages to the presidents and the president back to the governors. We're in the middle of this thing and probably at an apex of it. I'm going to be interested to see, just like everybody else, how long is South Carolina going to declare themselves open? And they're just open for, they're still going to stores and certain restaurants, but they're still doing the social distancing. And that's what I don't understand. If you still have to do social distancing
right.
and face masks, then what are you opening?
Right.
You know, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
You might as well let society just go about their business and people just bolster the healthcare system.
All right. Well, thanks, brother, for that feedback. What I've noticed as well is, for some reason, some of these briefings from the federal governments or state governments, that they've been targeting black people. And just to clarify, for some reason, the coronavirus has uh, negatively, I mean, it's impacted all ethnicities, but for some reason, it's really impacted, um, the black community, the African American community. Do you feel like because of that, the media is targeting black people, or do you really think there's really some data and information to, I guess, in a way, corroborate or
Both
basically
of that.
make say that, yeah, to make sure that this information is actually accurate?
I don't think that the information was accurate because the time, the little ebb and flow of time that went by when they first started reporting that blacks were being disproportionately numbered as far as the deaths and contraction of the virus goes, they haven't really came back with strong reporting on that level again. It's kind of went away. And to me, it's okay. They may have found a kind of a hot spot where blacks were under tested, they're under testing, they're under admitted into, they were being under admitted into hospitals. And then there was a wave where they started coming through and they started being tested. It seemed like for the last week or two that I haven't heard that same wave of but that same wave of blacks being pointed out to say that we're dying at a higher rate than everybody at all the other races. That kind of came through a couple of weeks ago, and it kind of went away. I haven't seen the reporting that points to that wave again. I've been waiting for it. I've been looking for it. Detroit, Chicago, or New Orleans, and New York, of course. I think that was kind of a misnomer. I really believe that was misreported. You can make numbers do exactly what you want them to do, and graphs and different scales and sliding rules. I think that was something that the media jumped on for a minute because it was something, kind of we were perched on a branch and waiting to hear. Is this something that's targeting the black community or what have you? No, I haven't seen the consistent reporting of that since that first wave of news media that came through with that.
Okay.
And it's kind of gone away. So I think you can make the numbers do exactly what you want them to do.
Okay.
And the media is complicit in that. They're complicit in that, of course. Where they're waiting. They know we're waiting as a group. We're waiting for the white man's hands to be involved in this.
Right, word.
We're looking for that, and I think that was something that they jumped on because the numbers said so at the moment, and then I think that wave went away because if this was, believe me, if this was a black only deal, the country wouldn't even be shut down right now. They would have never shut down the country. Just like when AIDS, the AIDS virus was apparently attacking the gay community. They didn't shut down the country because that was epidemic proportions in itself, but amongst the gay community.
Right.
And until it started attacking people through their blood transfusions and other kind of contact, that's when it got to the point where this was, serious enough to kind of put an effort a holistic government effort into stopping the transmission of the viruses. Uh, but like I said, if this was a black only thing, um, we may not have heard about it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, it's
Uh,
yeah, it's kind of like reparations, right? Where,
right, right,
you know, hey, we've been here for 400 years, people. So
right.
yeah. All right,
It
brother.
was, yeah.
Yeah, well, we got to wrap it up, man, because it's about that time as usual. So, what's your final thoughts, and where can people go to find your works?
Well, Ira Tillman, that's IRATILLMAN at Amazon, Amazon Books, Ira Tillman. You can find my latest works there. I have 9 books on Amazon, the latest one being Hangar 19, which came out this year. And before then, a couple of months before then, was Good and Evil Personified. The it was a story of a young man named Francisco Gutierrez. It's called Good and Evil Personified: The Illumination of Francisco Gutierrez. That came out in February, and Hangar 19 came out in March. So I have 2 new books out. Hope your listeners and my listeners can go and find it. Their way to it. I guarantee they're gonna love the reads. They're interesting reads. Hangar 19 is a fictional detective series that I write. And it's the 3rd installment of that series. The Peterson Group being the book before, and the original book was Something's Wrong with Liz. That's a trilogy. We had talked about it. You actually gave me the motivation to write that trilogy, Umora, and I appreciate that. And there's a 4th installment of that coming in later this year. I'm going to start on it probably in the summertime. But Hangar 19 is out, and it's getting pretty good reviews, really good reviews. 5-star on Amazon, which is the highest rating that they give. And of course, I have Super Thieves out there. Super Thieves is a true story of my life from 1982 to 1994. It's all about my life doing jury heists across America. And if you want to know the mentality that it takes to do that, to go through millions of dollars and a lifestyle that probably is unimaginable to 98% of the people, you're gonna like Super Thieves. It's on Amazon, and it's one with the black and white cover. There's another one there that somebody tried to steal from me, so I had to change the cover. But the black and white cover and it's Super Thieves is the title, and you're gonna enjoy it. I've had people that say they read it in just a couple of settings because they couldn't put it down, and it's throughout the system, the federal and state systems across the country, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from people that are in the federal system, and they're telling me that there are lines to read this book wherever they're at. So I'm happy to hear that whenever I do get a communicator from somebody I know. But I appreciate the show today, and hope you guys have. I understand that doing a jury heist in a pandemic is it's not an easy proposition. It's not something that you want to do. But if somebody had to twist my arm, I explained to you how it would be done the Ira Tillman way. But it's almost a nil proposition, and stay in the house and stay safe and stay covered up, and we'll see you in the next book. I'll see you in the next book.
All right. Well, thanks, Ira, for your time. This is the Ira Tillman Show. Until next time, everybody, be safe. Take care.